Chapter 1. Pemberton plans an attack. Major General Ulysses Grant wants to capture Vicksburg. Lieutenant General John Pemberton, a Confederate, is defending Vicksburg. Champion Hill is about 20 miles east of Vicksburg, about midway between Vicksburg and the Mississippi state capital at Jackson. And historians say that the Battle of Champion Hill was the pivotal battle of the Vicksburg campaign. Let's start the story on May 13, 1863. This is the day before the Union Army captured the state capital at Jackson. See part of a map which I found in the atlas to the official records. Vicksburg is here on the Mississippi River. Jackson, the state capital, is here about 45 miles east. And there's a railroad line between Vicksburg and Jackson, and the Big Black River runs from northeast to southwest into the Mississippi River. The Union Army, pushing north, broke the rail line and the telegraph between Vicksburg and Jackson, and they drove a wedge between the two Confederate forces, Lieutenant General John Pemberton's army on the west and General Joseph Johnston's force on the east. The blue icons are Union infantry divisions. The gray icons are Confederate infantry divisions. The Confederate battle flag marks Pemberton's location. The U.S. flag marks Grant's location. And this is an animated map, and the timer is set for late in the day on May 13. Pemberton's army was gathering here at Edwards. His scouts reported that the Union troops formerly on his front southeast of Edwards had turned away and were marching on Jackson. And according to Warren Grabow in his book 98 Days, General Pemberton saw an opportunity here to seize the initiative. He saw these options. Number 1, follow to the east and attack the Union rear, or 2, move southeast and attack the Union supply line, or 3, he could do nothing and wait for General Grant to attack the Confederate line on the Big Black River, which would give Johnston the chance to close in from the east, and the Confederates could join up and attack Grant front and rear. Timothy Smith, in his book Champion Hill, wrote that Pemberton was a bureaucrat, not a field general. His forte was organization, not leading men. I just referred to the units gathered here at Edwards as Pemberton's army. Some writers have called it Pemberton's Army of Maneuver. Pemberton had a total of 5 divisions available. There are 3 divisions with General Pemberton at Edwards. He left the other 2 divisions behind to guard the fortress at Vicksburg. I'll call this force of 3 divisions Pemberton's army, but remember, he left 2 divisions behind to guard Vicksburg. The next morning, May 14, at Bovina, Pemberton received a message from General Johnston ordering him to move his army to Clinton and join Johnston's forces there. And according to Grabow, Pemberton read the message with a sense of astonishment and dismay, because Clinton, between him and Jackson, must be held by Union troops. Timothy Smith wrote in his book, The Inland Campaign for Vicksburg, that after Pemberton read the message, he bellowed to his staff, "Such a movement will be suicidal." Still, orders are orders. What to do? Pemberton responded to Johnston, "I comply at once with your order." Pemberton ordered his senior division commander, Major General William Loring, at Edwards, to get the army ready to move. And I'll start the animation on the map, and you can watch the action on May 14 around Edwards and to the east at Jackson, the state capital. Pemberton then rode forward to Edwards, a distance of 10 or 12 miles, and apparently, along the way, Pemberton began to change his mind, but felt that before deciding to disobey Johnston's orders, he should get the opinion of his division commanders and at Edwards he called a council of war. The Confederates have a defense line along the Big Black River here, and Pemberton wanted to hold that line and fight a defensive battle. Generals Loring and Stevenson, the two senior commanders, wanted to march southeast and attack the Union supply line. General Bowen, the most junior of the three division commanders, wanted to follow Johnston's orders and march to Clinton. As Grabow wrote, Pemberton let himself be swayed by the opinions of his two senior division commanders and opted for the advance against the Union supply line. And Timothy Smith wrote, "At that point, Pemberton lost control of his army." So this was May 14, and the plan was to be on the road at 8 a.m. the following day, May 15, march east on the Raymond Road across Baker's Creek, then turn south on the Turkey Creek Road and strike the Union supply line around Dillon's farm. The distance was 10 miles, and it should be an easy one-day march. At this point, their best information was that the Union Army was still attacking the state capital at Jackson. Actually, the Union Army captured Jackson that day, the 14th, and by the 15th, they were marching west to attack Pemberton's army. Let's shift to a map that shows just the area around the battlefield. See here Edwards on the west edge of the map and Bolton on the east edge. The distance from Edwards to Bolton is about 10 miles. And this is another animated map, and I'll start the timer at 9 a.m. on the morning of May 15. The gray icons on the left are Confederate brigades. The blue icons in the upper right corner are Union brigades. Again, Pemberton wanted to be moving by 8 a.m. But apparently, because of snafus and staff work, the Army actually wasn't underway until afternoon, and then, when they reached Baker's Creek, they found the bridge was washed out. And Timothy Smith wrote that apparently no one thought to check the crossing, which was only a mile or two from their camp at Edwards. Smith wrote, "It was a classic example of poor planning, scouting, and staff work." This org chart shows the three divisions in Pemberton's army with the brigades included in each division, and then this pie chart compares the sizes of the three divisions. And the numbers I'm using here are from Warren Grabow's book, 98 Days. So they're hung up at the creek crossing. Lots of rain in the previous 24 hours. The creek was running high, and the bridge was washed out, and the creek is too deep to ford. Loring's scouts found a neighborhood road that led back north to a different crossing on the Jackson Road, from which they could travel east to a crossroads and then turn back south to get back to the Raymond Road. It was a detour of about 6.5 miles. It was around midnight when Loring's division reached the Ellison plantation here, and Pemberton gave the order to stop for the night. The rest of Pemberton's army was strung out behind them, still marching. The wagon train and Reynolds's brigade were at the tail of the column, and according to Colonel Reynolds's report, they were marching until dawn, when his brigade caught up with the rest of the army around the crossroads here. Pemberton sent for his cavalry commander and ordered him to picket the approaches to the army's front and to send out scouts to discover the enemy's whereabouts. Timothy Smith wrote of officers in Bowen's and Loring's divisions hearing cavalry pickets firing during the night, and that one officer reported seeing a number of lights, which I supposed to be the campfires of the enemy. But it doesn't seem to sink in or to be communicated to General Pemberton that the Union Army is on their doorstep, preparing to attack them the next morning, the 16th. Timothy Smith wrote that at this point, confusion reigned in the Confederate Army. And Grabow wrote, "Relations among the Confederate high command of the Vicksburg Army were strained. Loring thought Pemberton was a dunce or a traitor. Bowen blamed Pemberton for the defeat at Port Gibson and regarded him as incompetent or worse. Both Loring and Bowen wanted to see Pemberton removed from command." When they all gathered at the Ellison House for a morning briefing, they could hear the rumble of artillery to the east. All right, so we can guess this is a tense meeting. And then Colonel Wirt Adams, Pemberton's cavalry commander, rode up and told the assembled officers that Union cavalry, supported by infantry, had struck his pickets at 7 a.m. at the Gillespie House here and were forcing their way westward. And writers report that right then, at that dramatic moment, a courier rode up with another order from General Johnston, once again ordering Pemberton to rendezvous with him, this time at a spot north of the railroad, around Brownsville. The order also reported that the state capital, Jackson, had been captured by Grant's army. Pemberton decided to now obey Johnston's order, and Grabow wrote that Pemberton had perfectly good reasons for changing his mind. First, Grant's army now was no longer facing toward Jackson. They were moving west, which made the plan to move to Dillon too dangerous. Second, Pemberton believed that Johnston's plan was to unite north of the railroad and attack the Federal army from the flank and rear as it continued toward Vicksburg. This plan offered a reasonable chance of beating the Yankees in the field. So continuing the march to the southeast was no longer possible. Grant's army was no longer facing east. They were headed their way and might be very close. Pemberton ordered the army to turn around, march back to Edwards, and then north to Brownsville. Timothy Smith wrote Pemberton's army was now extremely vulnerable. They were already, starting at 7 a.m., being attacked on the Raymond Road. What if other Federal columns were on the Middle Road and Jackson Road? What if? Smith wrote that an attack could sweep in and break the Confederate column in two, and the only way to safety, the crossings over Baker's Creek, were in danger. Smith summarized the situation this way. He was far out of position with the army strung up on a long, single, winding route that was further complicated by limited crossings of high water. He had to turn around and get out of what, with each passing minute, was likely becoming a dangerous trap. In the next chapter, see that General Grant had a very good idea how big Pemberton's army was and where they were headed. And those orders that Pemberton just received, one of Johnston's couriers was a Union plant, and Grant had read those orders too.